We are all used to seeing a neighbor calling a police officer on a disturbing neighbor or someone calling the cops for a trespasser. But how often do we see a mom calling the cops on her own son? Probably never. In this video, we would be showing you a mom who couldn't tolerate her son further and thus had to involve the police. We would also include the son's reaction to the whole situation. Just before we proceed, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now that you have subscribed, let's dive right in. Wonder Die Police Officer. Being a police officer is indeed a job that requires solving people's problems, but we guess this officer never thought that she would be called to intervene in a family matter like this. Upon receiving the complaint, the gallant officer reported promptly at the scene with the aim of trying to de-escalate the whole situation. Certainly by telling the mom to leave the room is a clever move. This is probably so that the mom would feel very comfortable in disclosing what the issue is, without feeling threatened or monitored. Definitely, no mom is comfortable explaining to an officer who is a stranger what went on in her home, and of all persons to report about, it is a child who you raised up. Someone who is up to 23 years old is no longer a kid anymore, and thus should have grown with the understanding of how to be respectful to one's parents. This is probably because at the age of 23, the adult is well expected to have moved out of the parents' house, and if for any reason he wants to still stay around, then he should be respectful to the mom. Explaining oneself to an officer could be an emotional affair, especially with mothers, as the poor woman broke down after remembering the insults she received from her son. This act of insulting one's mom then begs the question whether the child would defend the mom in public if someone else insulted the mom. This would be a tough call for the son since he doesn't not respect the mom in their own private home. As soon as the officer discovered that the bad-behaving son was unarmed, that called for the next step. That would entail hearing from the son's perspective, as it is very likely that the mom could be making up things. Thus, it is best for the officer to get a balanced view from both parties before taking any action. 2. Locks the mom outside. In order to ensure that the conflict was resolved peacefully, there was the need for the son to come outside and speak with the police. However, the son took the law into his hands as he locked his mom outside. This is exactly the evidence the officer needs to prove that indeed, the mom could be right all along. We mean, if despite knowing that an officer of the law was just outside their house and yet decided to lock the mom outside, this indeed proves that worse could have happened when no one was around. And just as the mom kept on trying her way in, with the way she spoke to her son, maybe it equally shows that it is not entirely the son's fault that he is acting the way he is. We mean, if a mom that ought to be a role model is cussing out at her son, maybe that explains where the son learnt his bad behavior from then. And after standing outside her own house for the entire day, the poor woman is finally let in. This indeed shows that there is a lot of issues with this family as they don't understand what respect is, and by extension, how to respect their poor mom. So the insulting son was not even the one that came to open the door for the mom, rather it was her good son. It goes on to show how the insulting son sees the mom as we could hear him screaming at her while she was outside, but to come and get the door for her became the place where he drew the line. 3. Insulting. As the door of the house is finally opened, we guess the gallant police officer must be excited to finally speak with the son and possibly bring an end to the conflict existing between him and the mom. Truly, this officer is knowledgeable in the art of negotiating, and she handled her opening statement well as she seeks to bring peace to the family. Well, unfortunately for the police officer, her good words were just going round when the insulting son was not around. There was no need to advise the good son as he is good already, right? Well, as soon as the mom tried calling the insulting son out, he responded in a way that one should ever talk to their own mom. At this point, if it were a crime to insult one's mom, this brave officer would have locked the insulting son long ago in the jail. Well, he should instead thank his lucky stars that no such laws exist. As if the police officer who was standing right outside their door had not heard enough, the insulting son continued in his ways. As we all know that mothers are very sensitive, this could cause the mom to sue him for assault as she must have felt that the son was on the route of harming her. Well, Maybe that is just wishful thinking, as most moms would never press any charges against their own son. But then, what if matters get out of hand? There should be a way of resolving it permanently, right? Truly, not even the presence of the officer could stop the young man from insulting his mom. Is it not better for everyone involved if he had just gone ahead to rent his own apartment and stay away from his mom? If he truly hated her that much, that is what he should have done, but he would not, rather causing troubles for the poor woman. Since the job was getting a bit hard for the police officer, the good son stepped in, hoping that he would be able to get his mom to calm down. Well, if he were good at settling dispute, then the mom wouldn't have had the need to call the cops in the first place, right? Now might be a good time to step away, dear good son, and let the police officer do her job. 4. Settling dispute. We guess at this point, this officer must have gotten really tired of these two persons, but unfortunately, it is her duty to de-escalate the atmosphere, and she would try her best to accomplish that. As the temperature in the room kept on rising, the gentle officer had no option but to call the mom to one corner, narrating how ugly the whole situation could end. Well, as most mothers would, we know it would be hard for the mom to allow her son to be taken to the prison. But what can she really do when it seems the son is hell-bent on being a source of headache to the mom? We have been hearing from only the mom and good son all this while, but this time the officer spoke to the Cody, the insulting son. We guess the officer never saw that reaction coming from Cody, who seemed as if he was a bomb, waiting for the right moment to detonate on the poor officer. And in fact, he did detonate, leaving the poor officer defending herself the best way she could. Well, after raining firestorm all day, Cody seemed to have finally gotten to his senses as his voice reduced while now speaking with the officer. Could it then be that it was the presence of his mom that was causing him to be stressed all these while? We mean, now that his mom is no longer in the room, he has calmed down while informing the officer he would never lay his hands on his mom. That sounds a good thing to hear after the war we just witnessed. Indeed, this officer is a professional as far as de-escalating conflicts is caused. She figured out that the major issue was that Cody and his mom cannot stand each other, and it was best if he went somewhere else till the atmosphere is perfectly safe, and then he could return. From the way Cody has been reacting ever since the wonderful officer took charge of the situation, maybe it can be assumed that she is indeed making some achievements. We just hope it works so that no neighbor will report again. It sure looks like this officer is making a good headway. This looks like it will be the last time the officer will come around the house just because of some reports made by some neighbors. 5. Arrest. After the officer left, we thought the fight was over, but we didn't realize that Cody and his mom are like cats and dogs. Thus, there is a high chance they will never be at peace if they both stay in the same house. Thus, Cody and her mom started another fight again, but when Cody noticed that officers were around again, he jumped the balcony and took off. Well, would the officer catch up with him, as it seems the police officer is already losing his breath? And just within a short while after his escape, the young man was caught. Definitely, he will be spending some time in jail, and with that, give the poor mama the distance she deserves. Do you think Cody's mom overreacted by calling the cops on her son? Would you have handled it differently if you were in her shoes? Please do let us know in the comments section. Well, if you got to the end of the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like, share, and turn on the post notification button so you don't miss any of our videos.